News: Coronavirus. How is the UK planning for an outbreak? Coronavirus has been seen in more than 50 countries, including the UK. What are the government's plans for a major outbreak, and how prepared is the NHS? Can coronavirus be contained? The government says the UK is prepared for all eventualities and is working on containing any outbreaks that involve spotting cases quickly, isolating them and identify contact people have had to stop any spread. This is being done by Public Health England's 9 regional teams. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have their own arrangements. So far it has worked well. As of Friday, there have been 19 cases, all involving key infection aboard. There has been no transmission within the UK, but even if there is, that does not mean containment is defeated. If the authorities can chase the link in the transmission chain, they have a good chance for stopping its spread. What if containment fails? Even if it fails, containment will have bought the UK valuable time. Scientists will be closer to developing a vaccine, and if containment lasts until spring or summer, the milder weather will help. Delaying an epidemic until the summer would have the added benefit that the under pressure NHS would not be under so much pressure to cope.
Is the NHS ready? The NHS has detailed plans to cope with outbreaks of disease and surges in demand. They include 5 specialist hospitals that have treated existing UK patients, another 20 post-regional infectious disease units on standby, isolation posts in case patients arrive with the virus. Currently, there is no treatment or cure, so hospitals are trying to relieve the symptoms. Specialist equipment, called ECMO, which helps with breathing, is available at a small number for units to support the most severely ill patients if their lungs fail. As well as looking for a vaccine, researchers are exploring whether existing treatment for other conditions, such as malaria and HIV, can be used to help coronavirus patients. Coronavirus, all you need to know. Coronavirus, will I get paid if I self-isolate? A visual guide to the outbreak. Outbreak spread in Europe from Italy.
What if there are mass outbreaks? In the worst case scenario of widespread transmission in the UK, and epidemic hospitals could start cancelling routine treatments to prioritize coronavirus patients. Assessment will be made about which patients can be advised to stay at home and isolate themselves. The illness for many seems to be mild and passes. PHE has already announced wide surveillance to see if coronavirus is spreading undetected. 8 hospitals and 100 GP surgeries are testing patients with flu-like illness and respiratory problems.
Could schools be closed? Under the Civil Contingencies Act, the government can close schools, shut down public transport, and stop mass gatherings to protect the public. England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty, said on Thursday that if those measures were needed to would have to be for quite a long period for time, probably more than 2 months. However, evidence suggests those measures are not particularly effective at stopping the spread of something like coronavirus, and the balance between public safety and economic and social impacts would be considered. New legal powers had been passed. The broad power to stay in quarantine, but this is a measure more about containment than a practical step that will be taken in the event of the virus becoming an epidemic in the UK. The government and NHS simply do not have the facility to contain many more than a few hundred people. In the event of mass transmission, response will be coordinated by the government's COBRA committee and 43 local resilience forums in England and Wales. This includes PHE officials, the NHS, local councils, and the emergency service. Northern Ireland and Scotland have their own arrangements, although they do liaise closely with England.